Hi everyone, it is Amy here for Free Advice Friday. All right, why don't we get started? I want to remind all of you who have not been on a Free Advice Friday before that you can ask me anything, but I ask you to ask it in the Q&A box. I love the chat box, don't get me wrong, but I often don't see that because I'm so fixated on the emails and on the Q&A box that sometimes I miss things that are in the chat box. So throw your questions into the Q&A. I'm going to alternate your questions from today with the questions that have been emailed over the last week. And I love these sessions. Thank you so much for joining me. There's more of you on today than we've ever had before. So want to also remind you that if you go to newshelves.com/FAF, Free Advice Friday, newshelves.com/FAF, and I will put that in the chat box right now, that URL. If you go there after this session is done, you will be able to find recordings of all these Free Advice Fridays, as well as transcripts. For those of you who do not enjoy reading, who do not enjoy listening to the sound of my voice for a solid hour, and I don't even enjoy listening to myself for a solid hour, and you just want to read the answers, I've got a transcript up for all the Free Advice Fridays. There was some glitch, and the last couple of weeks were hidden, but someone told me about it, and they're clean, and they're up now. So let's get started. I have a question here. Oops, sorry. Let me get to the first one. A question here from Doug, who is saying that he's kind of in a mixed bag. Doug has a couple of books that were under a very well-known publisher. He is published under Rowan and Littlefield, and they're being distributed through National Book Network. But Doug also has self-published 4 other books under his own imprint, and he has, from what I can see, he has decided to print and get them out into the marketplace going through CreateSpace. And he wants to know if he's using CreateSpace exclusively, can he still get into the wholesalers? See, he used to have them in Ingram Spark, but for different reasons, he had to take them off of Ingram Spark, it looks like. It says here that CreateSpace told him he had to take them off Ingram Spark. Doug, that's complete BS. CreateSpace should not have told you that. Of course, CreateSpace wants you to take them off of Ingram Spark, but you absolutely should, not only can, but should have your books up on CreateSpace for distribution into Amazon and your books up on Ingram Spark if what you're interested in is bookstores and libraries. If you're not interested in bookstores and libraries, there is zero reason to put your books up on Ingram Spark. All it will do will be lower your profitability. But I actually have a blog about this. So for those of you who have access to the chat box, I am putting the link to my blog into the chat box. And what I'm going to do is put on the Free Advice Friday page this afternoon an actual link to that blog, which details very specifically why you need to use both and how to use both. Don't let CreateSpace tell you that you only can use them. If you want to get into the wholesalers, and your print on demand, you're going to need Ingram Spark. So there was that question, and and I'm seeing here. Let's see. Oh, Al, how are you? It's good to see you. I hope you're working on that questionnaire. I would love to get started with you, and you've been so patient while I traveled. It's great to see you here online. All right, next question. Let me put my old lady glasses on. Isn't this nice in my office as opposed to sitting in the front seat of my car like last time? That was charming. All right. Katrina has been calling libraries to get contact information. She heard me say that the easiest way to get emails and information for libraries is just to pick up the phone and give them a quick call and ask who the acquisition librarian is and get their name and email. That is true. But the other thing I want to mention, Katrina, if you want to just get started with some low-hanging fruit, there are, out there on the websites for all of these major library systems, there are quite often email addresses to these librarians. Not all of them. But if you go to a particular library system and you hit Control F on a particular page and type in the word email or type in librarian or type in contact, it will bring up, it will search for those phrases on that page. Again, Control F on your, when you go to the page on the website, and you might be able to find the email right there on their web page. That's how I do it. But she was asking, she says sometimes she gets an email and name, but sometimes she doesn't. And sometimes they send her to a contact us form on the library. And she wants to know how to put the sales sheet and the information on that. Well, you can't. What I would do is if you want to approach them via contact, you simply write into the contact form your name and all the information they ask for. But I would also put in, you know, dear Grayson Library, or whatever library it is, I am trying to get a hold of, or I would like to speak with the acquisition development librarian or with the collection development department about considering my book. Give them the name of your book and the ISBN. Put it right there. The book is available from different wholesalers, and we're going to be promoting the book in your area, and I would like to speak with someone about having my book considered to be stocked in your library for your patrons. That's all I would say. They'll probably get back to you. Those contact us forms are very effective. I have found that I get more responses from them than I do from bulk emails. So, Katrina, I hope that's helpful. All right, let's see if there's any, let me look at the Q&A and see if there's any questions here. Paul is asking, what do you mean by iterate? I don't know. Did I use that word? I mean, I know what iterate means. All right. Paul, I'm sorry. If you can give me the whole sentence, what I meant, excuse me, what I said, I'd be happy to answer. Jean Valve, how are you? I just ran into her in St. Louis. And she says, at a meeting in St. Louis, I mentioned that traditionally pubbed authors can run AMS ads. She's been working with one of her peers to help her figure it out, and we can't find it. Let me give you the steps. This is super easy. I should probably write a blog about this. The way anyone can run an AMS ad doing the following. You go to kdp.com. Let me put that in the chat box. kdp.com. And you sign up for an account. It's totally free. You give them your email address. You give them a password. You sign up for kdp.com. You do not actually need to post any books or anything. You just sign up for an account. Then you go over to ams.amazon.com. Let me give you that URL. There we go. Go to ams.amazon.com. Go into ams.amazon.com and sign up with them, telling them that you have a KDP account and giving them the same login and password for KDP. They will then allow you, not only allow you, they'll be thrilled to let you spend money with them. Because you have a KDP account, you will be allowed to advertise any Kindle book you want. Now, as you know, your Kindle book and your paperback and your hardcover, they're all bundled together. So if you advertise the Kindle book, you're advertising all the books. So that is the early steps on how to actually figure out how to get access to an AMS account. I hope that answers your question. All right, let's, now I'm going to go back to one of these and then I'll answer Joan's question. Let's see. Carolyn or Caroline, I'm not sure, I apologize. Caroline wrote, how can I get my books into Target and Walmart? Okay, well, I've written a number of white papers on this, white papers that are totally free at my store. So if you'd like a deeper answer into this, let me give you the link to that page. I actually offer a full-length answer to this in a detailed white paper that you can download for free from my site. You just go to newshelves.com/store. But here's the short answer. Caroline, if you would like to get into Walmart and Target, if Costco or Myers or any of those are a goal, it's an admirable goal. But you're going to need the following. You're going to need to prove to Walmart, let's just say Walmart to start, that you can sell tens of thousands of copies out of their stores. You have to prove to them that your book will be so in demand and that it has the potential to sell so many copies that if they put your book on their shelf, they have very little risk of not making money off of that shelf space. See, every square inch of a Walmart shelf has to make a lot of money for Walmart every week. And if they give your book, which is, 5.5 inches wide, if they give, because they're face out, if they give your book a 5.5-inch shelf space and they stack 6 of them straight out and they give you 6 inches of shelf space, you need to prove to them that you're going to make just as much money, if not more, than any other book or product that they put on that shelf. Walmart sells more books than almost any other book retailer or retailer in the United States. They're an enormous bookseller. But you'll notice they don't sell many titles. They'll have 60, maybe 80 titles, maybe a few more, depending on the Walmart. Some of them have 200, but most of them, it's a pretty small group. And they are followers, not leaders. Walmart wants to take in books that have already proven themselves. If you have not sold, I'm going to say 20,000 copies already, minimum, through other venues, Walmart's probably not going to take you that seriously as a potential vendor. Not that your book isn't wonderful, but they want proof that there's some demand. They want proof that your book can sell and can make them money. So if you have that proof, if you've sold 10 or 20,000 copies of your book in a short period of time, let's say a year or less, and if you have the money to print 40, 50,000 copies of your book up front, because you have to provide, let's say that Walmart wants your book and they'll take 30,000 copies and spread them out across the country. This is, they'll start with a small test. But I'm saying, let's say the best scenario happens. They want to put you in all the Walmarts. You're going to need 30,000 copies or so of your book printed. And you need to pay for that printing up front. Can you afford to do that? Because Walmart's not going to pay you to print your books. They're going to want you to have an account with all of the half a dozen or sometimes a dozen or more different wholesalers across the country that service Walmart. Are you with Anderson Merchandisers? Are you with Henderson? Well, the news groups are gone, but what are the major wholesalers that Walmart uses? Actually, that list is in that white paper I was talking about. We won't get into that now. So you need to have full distribution, and that doesn't mean you need to be in those distributors, but you need to be willing to give those distributors the discount that they're asking for. And those distributors will often ask or demand in many cases, a 60 or more, a 60% discount off the retail price of your book. Plus, they're going to want $1 or so pocket fee for every pocket that goes in. A pocket is a sheaf of books lined in, faced out. Pocket fees are part of retail world. Can you afford to get into Walmart and Target? I don't know. I don't know your numbers. But that is the short answer as to how to get into Walmart and Target. Sell tens of thousands of copies beforehand. Be willing to print tens of thousands of copies of your book on spec. Send them in through wholesalers that are going to want a 60% discount, give or take, plus pocket fees, and you have to sell them returnable. When Walmart doesn't sell all of your books, and let's say that there's 9,000 left, they're going to send it back to you and they're not going to pay you for those. You now have 9,000 copies of your book that have been sitting on a shelf and are banged up, and in some cases stickered, that are all yours. So I don't mean to be discouraging, Carolyn. I really don't. But that is my answer about Walmart. All right. I'll get back to more questions here, including Carolyn's, but let me answer Joan's question. Now, I asked you guys to ask your questions in the Q&A. That's absolutely fine. But I am keeping an eye on the chat box. If for some reason you can't hear me or I say something that doesn't make sense, feel free to throw it into the chat box. I am kind of keeping an eye on it. I'm just not answering questions for now. Joan is considering, a library package, and she thought she should wait. She was interested in learning more about, apparently, a class I teach about libraries. And she wants to know what I advise, get the best attention for the first 2 books in her series. It's a Foundational Faith and Truth Bible Study series. To get attention, and she wants to know if Baker and Taylor can take the place of Ingram. Okay, so here's the questions. Yes, if you want to sell into libraries, Baker and Taylor is better than Ingram. Ingram is easy to get into, and with Ingram Spark, it's seamless. It just happens. You sign and you check off, yes, you want distribution into Ingram Wholesaler, Ingram Spark makes your book available to Ingram Wholesaler. Remember, guys, 2 different companies, and you're good to go. But libraries dramatically prefer Baker and Taylor. So Baker and Taylor is a better choice. And yes, you can switch out and make your book available through Baker and Taylor instead of Ingram if you wish. However, getting into Baker and Taylor is not easy. Getting into Baker and Taylor, there's a very complicated and time-consuming application process. You need to send multiple copies of your marketing plan. You need to send multiple copies of your book. You need to, Robin and Lisa and the team, Kenneth, the team there are wonderful, but they receive dozens and dozens of applications every week or every month, and they'll get to yours. It takes a while, and they say no to most small presses. If you're independently published, self-published, or a small press, you'll probably get a no unless you can prove to them that you're going to make them a lot of money. And so, Joan, if you've not sold a lot of copies of your Truth Bible Study series, Baker and Taylor might not be convinced that you will sell any. But if you're already in Baker and Taylor, you're in great shape. You should go with that. So getting attention for the first 2 books in your foundational faith to the library market is very simple. All you need to do, in my opinion, to get attention from any library is answer one of the following 3 questions. What can I do to drive traffic into this library? So if you can answer that question, that's one way to get the librarian's attention. Another question you can answer is, what is it about my book that fills a need or a hole in that library's shelf space? Does that library have an active biblical study community? Is this library in Alabama, or is this library out in San Francisco? I mean, there's 2 different interests in biblical study, just in terms of just general population interested in a Bible study series. So pay attention to where you're selling it, and is there a need for your book in that library? And how do you know? Go to their website, type in Bible study, and see how many books they actually have on the topic. See where your book can fill a niche. If you type in Bible study into their website and you see the books that are available, can you tell the librarian why they need your book? If they already have 9 Bible study books, why do they need a 10th one? And if they don't have any Bible study books, ask yourself why not. Perhaps their patrons are not particularly interested in that topic. So those are ways that I would suggest getting a librarian's interest. Questions to answer. How can I drive traffic into their location? What am I doing to create demand? What is it the librarians need, and does my book fill it? I would start with those 2. All right, let's see. I've got a, let's see if there's other questions. Oh, yes. All right, let's go back to Carolyn's question. How can I get my story to be viewed by script or movie people? You need an agent, hon. In most cases, I say you don't. But for Hollywood movies, if you're interested in TV, if you're interested in selling rights, I would strongly recommend that you go get an agent. There is a woman that I know who I just interviewed, and I just posted her interview online on my website last week. Her name is Anna Termini. And Anna runs a consulting agency. I've known Anna for a decade or more. Oh, God, longer. Way longer. Sorry, Anna. We're both old. I'm very old. Today is my 51st birthday. I just want to tell you that I am hosting Free Advice Friday. I came into the office on a day that I took off to be with you. So I'm even older than I was yesterday. So today's my birthday, and you need to get a hold of Anna Termini. And Anna is super easy to get a hold of. She actually does a lot of work with me. I'm going to throw her email up in the chat box. Anna Termini, we have an email that flows through directly to her. I don't give out her personal email address, but we do have a New Shelves email for her that when I recommend her, if anyone wants to email her and tell them a little bit about their manuscript or their book, it does go to her, and it's just a way for me to protect your contact information. But email Anna at newshelves.com. Let me check that email. Give me an hour before you email her. But and think about If you want an agent, again, the questions. Why is your book different? Go. Writer's Digest has some fantastic articles about how to pitch to Hollywood, but my answer is you're going to need an agent, I'm afraid. All right. Let's see. Katrina, she was just answering a thank you. Debbie wants to know, how the heck do you make money? No, I'm paraphrasing. She did not say heck. I'm sure she's a lovely woman who would never use language like that. But Debbie wants to know, in what ways do you make money putting your books in libraries? Debbie, I made just over $10,000 last year in the library market with one book. My one book, I made 10 grand, and this is how I made the money. I make my ebook available to libraries through Overdrive. I did that through a company called Draft to Digital. I actually have a class that teaches this. Again, go to my website. You can find out all about this, but I'm going to give you an overview. And I sold enough copies through Overdrive of that ebook that I was able, with total confidence, to raise my ebook price to the library market. I may sell my ebook on Amazon for $5. I'm not exactly sure what I'm selling it for at the moment, but I sell it to libraries for $20. If a library wants to buy my ebook and loan it out over and over again, then they're going to pay me $20 for the privilege. Once I started selling enough books, libraries wanted it badly enough that they were willing to pay the $19.99 that I was charging for it. So I make books by selling my ebook at an elevated rate. I sell print copies of my books into libraries all over the country. There's just shy of 10,000 public libraries in the United States, and my book is only in a couple hundred. But what ends up happening is my book goes into that library system. It starts to get checked out. There's some demand that gets built up, and then they get, what happens is the library, once there's a long enough waiting list, and once the waiting list takes too long to get through, they'll order a second copy, and they'll put it in another location, another branch within that system, because there's interdepartmental lending. So whereas I was perhaps in one library in the Cincinnati, I'm making this up, I have no idea if I'm in the Cincinnati library, but if I was in one branch in the library system, eventually in time, since if there's demand, Cincinnati will then order 5, 6, 7 copies of my book and spread it out among the city. The other way I make a great deal of money, and I have been able to draw a direct line to this, is putting my books in libraries. Even at the beginning when I was giving it away for free, putting my books in libraries means that my book is front and center at the front of every library as you walk in. There's these displays in every library, new books, new in this month, new this week. They're all different. But the one thing they all have in common is that books that are new to a library end up on the front page of a website and end up near the front of the door of the front of the entrance of a library, and it's free advertising. If a library pays me $6, or if I end up making $4 profit at the end of the day on a book sold to a library, let's say I only make $1. Let's go nuts. Let's say I only make $1 for every book I sell to the library. That book is now in a library where thousands and thousands of avid readers and authors and writers, because that's my market, are hanging out every day. According to U.S. Census data, and this was put out in a report by the Codex Department last December. According to the U.S. Census data, over 70% of Americans who are over voting age, so 18 or older, grown-ups, have a library card. And 56% of Americans, that's all ages, 56% of Americans have been in a library in the last month. 56% of Americans have been in a library in the last month. That means 56% of Americans perhaps saw my book. Now, it's not always going to be at the front of the location. It's going to be on the shelf eventually. But that's free advertising. I will happily take their $1 and let my book be advertised in a library, because if somebody likes and reads my book, they're going to recommend it to other people. And my sales have gone up dramatically since I started pitching it to the library market. I hope that answers your question. I hope that was a deep enough answer. Let's go back to the questions down here. Corinne wants to know when to stop trying, or Caroline, sorry. When do you stop selling? When do you stop pushing? Well, I guess is when do you want to stop selling it? if you've been promoting and pushing your book for 2 years and you've gotten nowhere, there is a chance that your book isn't good enough. Maybe it wasn't edited properly. Maybe you're not a good enough writer. I'm sorry to say, but maybe you're not good enough. But I doubt it. That's rarely the case. It could be that the cover isn't right. It could be one small thing. The price might be off. I don't know what your answer is, but if after 2 years, if you haven't gotten anywhere and you've really been promoting it and pushing it and marketing it, I would suggest that you move on to your next book. You take stock of your first book, you set it aside, perhaps you give it to someone to evaluate, an industry professional who can tell you what might be wrong. I was on the phone with somebody yesterday who prides himself very deeply on being different. His cover did not look like anyone else's cover. His price was $7 higher than it should be, but he felt, and I've heard this 100 times, that his book was worth it, and he didn't want to be in and among the crowd. He didn't want to look like everyone else. What he ended up doing was creating a number of hurdles because he didn't want his cover to look like every other cover. That means now a potential reader who doesn't know him and doesn't trust him and knows nothing about him is going to look at his book, and his book is going to not look like everyone else's, and the reader now has to get over a hurdle. Oh, this isn't a professionally published book. This book doesn't look like a book that I have on my bookshelf already. So now I not only have to trust a new author whose name I don't know, but this guy doesn't even look like he knows the rules. It doesn't even look like he knows how to do a book. It doesn't even look like his publisher understood. Now, that was not his intention, but that was the result. Caroline, there's a chance that maybe there's just one small thing about your book that's a hurdle that the readers are stopping at. There's no reason for a reader to trust you or to want to buy your book if there's even the smallest hurdle when there's 57 other books sitting on their Amazon Kindle page that look exactly like what they're looking for. So when do you give up? 2 years. But I wouldn't say give up, but that's when you reevaluate. And are you working on your next book? You know, very, very, other than Harper Lee and one or two others, I don't know any highly celebrated, successful, talented authors who knocked it out of the park and got to rest on their first book. Carolyn, I'm going to ask you, how many books do you have? Because successful authors have lots of books. They're always working on the next book. I hope that answers that question and I wasn't too depressing. All right. Oh, Paul was saying when I said iteration, move forward with this iteration of the book. He was talking, okay, that explains it. That was an email that I sent him yesterday. Version. Paul, you've got three different versions of the same book. And I was saying that the one that you had the most success with, that's what I meant. This version of the book. Iteration is just another word that it was just fancy words. Thank you. Oh, Jeannie, you know, you and I, why don't we do a coaching call on AMS? If anyone's at all interested in getting hold of me offline, you can easily get a hold of me by emailing me at Amy, A-M-Y, @newshelves.com. That's my personal email. You can get a hold of me there. Jean, why don't we get together and do this AMS thing together? I would be very happy. Somebody's calling me. I'm hanging up on them. Sorry if you're from Washington and giving me a call. I'm in the middle of Free Advice Friday. All right. Let's see. Katrina was asking. She tried to set up an AMS account, but, you know, and Katrina, I believe I answered that when I answered Jean's question about you know, you need some sort of account with Amazon, but there are several free accounts, and KDP is the easiest way. Rich, it's good to see you. Yes, good. You were absolutely right. Walmart, in many cases, will often return 50% or more of the books. Not always. You know, I've sold books into Walmart that sold through, but I've also sold books into Walmart that I got 70% of them back. All right, so Brenda's asking if there's a good way to know which wholesaler is a particular library uses. Brodart, now I have in the past, guys, listed Brodart, Quality, and Unique, but in the last year, Quality and Unique have closed. So between those three, Brodart is the only one around. But there's Midwest Book Distribution, Library Distribution, Midwest Library Distribution, and Brodart. And if you are in Brodart and Midwest, as well as Ingram, you're covered. You really are covered. The San Diego Public Library, which is what Brenda's asking about, the easiest way to find out which wholesaler a particular library uses is drop them an email and ask them. There's no harm in it. No harm in asking them. You know, dear San Diego Public Library, I'm going to be sending some information in about my book, but I'm curious, which wholesaler do you use? They'll answer. They're lovely. Paul is asking, how can he get Barnes & Noble to accept him into just 2 or 3 of their stores to do a book signing? He just had a book signing in another store. He sold like 80 copies. It was fantastic. How does he convince Barnes & Noble to take a chance on him in just the Boston area? Paul, you may not be able to. The rules are firm at Barnes & Noble that stores are not able to stock a book. They can't make that choice on their own. Now, a little higher up the food chain, there's regional managers. That's not what they're called, but I'm going to call them that for this sake. But district managers, regional managers, also called CSF. Anyway, these managers are allowed to give stores permission to do book signings with local authors. There are local author sections in a lot of Barnes & Nobles, but for the most part, the stores themselves don't make those choices. Those choices happen at a higher level. If you want Barnes & Noble to consider your book, everyone needs to do this. You start by sending a copy of your book in with your marketing plan and a request that they stock it in your region. Tell them, you know, your zip code and your city and where you live, and you send that request into the small press department in New York City. Barnes & Noble has a small press department. The address is 122 Fifth Avenue, New York, New York, 10011. Here, I'll type that in. It's, let's see, small press department, BNN, 122 Fifth Avenue, New York City, New York, 10011. So there's the address. I'll also put this on the Free Advice Friday website. If you go to the BNN website, they actually give you these instructions. Start there. Tell them that you're available through Ingram. Tell them that your book is available fully returnable at a deep discount. If Barnes & Noble can't get your book at a 40% discount from Ingram Wholesaler, which means you've set the discount at 55% at Ingram Spark or Lightning Source, depending on where you are, then Barnes & Noble's not going to be able to take your book in. They're not going to buy your book at a 20 or 30% discount. They need a minimum of 40%. If you can offer them that, start with the New York office and then ask at the store level who in their organization in that region is responsible for deciding on local authors and and you know, Barnes & Noble's going to say no to most of us. They just are. They don't have the staff. They don't have the time. They're not interested. If you want to work and really get a relationship going with a bookstore in a particular area, may I recommend you start with the independent bookstores. Lots of them don't have staff or time either, but at least they're allowed to make the decision. So that's my answer to that. All right, let's see. Penny is asking, how do you properly contact bookstores in a professional manner about carrying books in their store? And how many bookstores are knowledgeable on the distributor Ingram Sparks? Okay, Penny, so a couple of questions here. Ingram Spark is not a distributor. Ingram Spark is a print-on-demand company. They're a printer that make books available to wholesalers such as Baker and Taylor and Ingram. Ingram Wholesaler is a sister company to Ingram Spark, but I want to be clear. Ingram Spark is your printer. They're a print-on-demand company. They're not a publisher. They're not a distributor. They will make your book available to wholesalers, to distributors, to stores. But they're a print-on-demand company. They're a fantastic company, but I just want to make sure we have the wording right. So Penny, every bookstore or library is aware of Ingram Wholesaler. But if you say Ingram Spark to a bookstore, they're going to roll their eyes. You're going to look self-published. You're going to look like you don't understand how the industry works. They don't care where you get your book printed. That's Ingram Spark. Well, they do care. They actually, a lot of them have a very snotty opinion about books that are print on demand, which is weird when you think that even Random House and HarperCollins now are printing tons of their books on demand through Ingram. So it's stupid. So you mentioned to bookstores that your books are available at Ingram Wholesaler, not Ingram Spark. We all clear on that? Ingram Wholesaler. I'll say it one more time. Ingram Wholesaler, not Ingram Spark. And the way to contact stores professionally, I actually have an entire video on this, and I describe it in detail. There's on my blog, and in my store, I offer, I believe it's free, it may be 99 cents, but I actually offer a white paper on how to sell into bookstores. It's kind of a big question, but again, you start with what do stores need and how can I provide it? You approach them with an email. You approach them with a PDF of your book and with a sales sheet. I do have a number of videos and classes on this, some of which are free. And Penny, if you want to email me at amy@newshelves.com, again, it's AMY, amy@newshelves.com. I'll throw that into the chat box again. If you want to email me and remind me, I will send you some links, and I will post some of those links on the Free Advice Friday page as well, so that you can actually watch my opinion on how to get bookstores to take your book in. All right, we got 20 minutes left. Pretty good. So nice hanging out with you guys. I hope this is going well for you. I'm having fun. I'm going to stop and take a quick sip. See how much caffeine I have here? Woo. Because I need caffeine, obviously. Janelle has asked, oh, Janelle, how are you? It's good to see you. Would like to know if it's a strict requirement by libraries that the title of the book should be on the spine of the book. She has seen in some libraries where books don't have a title on the spine. She has seen that. But everyone wants their books to look professional, and she wants to know how important this is. Yes, some libraries will take the occasional book that doesn't have printing on the spine, but they hate it, and it's one of those hurdles I was talking about. If you do not have the title of your book and the last name of the author, you need the last name of the author and the title of the book. If you do not have both of those things on the spine of your book, you are asking the librarian to step over or leap over a hurdle. That is, it's pretty important. And I would recommend that and for those of you who are being told by Ingram and CreateSpace that they can't print the spine on your book because it's too slim, do it anyway. See, here's the thing. Ingram and CreateSpace in particular, they've got a lovely group of customer service people and service workers who will answer your questions, but they don't know what they don't know. And so they've been told that you have to have a 48-page book before you can print on the spine. Get your designer to print on the spine anyway. If you have a 28-page book, it'll be teeny, but print that title, print that author last name on the, make sure, leave some room on the side, don't spread it all the way to the edge. It'll be minuscule. Do it anyway. Ingram and CreateSpace will take the file and they will print on the spine. They have done it for me for over a year now. We started experimenting and ignoring their advice that we couldn't put titles on the spine for children's books, and they happily took our files without any problem. So I hope that answers that question. Elle is saying her publisher, which is the hybrid publisher, asked her how many books she wants and how many they can send me. If she orders 100, she gets a deeper discount. What is she supposed to do with 100? Does this 100, look good to bookstores? Well, Elle, nobody is going to see that you ordered 100. That it's invisible, any more than it would be if you ordered 100 from a printer. They don't show up anywhere. That will not show up in any system, so it doesn't count. And how many books do you need? Well, the answer is we have to put a plan together. You don't start by saying, you don't start by going to the store and saying, all right, how much Diet Coke should I buy? What you do is you think about how much Diet Coke you can drink in a month. And let's say you're going to go to the store a month from now. You need a month's worth of Diet Coke to see you through. If you drink one Diet Coke a day, you should order 45 Diet Cokes. That's the 30 for you and 10 or 15 just in case you don't get back to the store exactly in a month. What if friends come over? There's going to be some people who stop by, maybe they want Diet Coke. So I would order 45 Diet Cokes. Well, the same is true with your book. Are you going to be asking people for endorsements? Are you going out after reviews? I know the answer to that one. I'm doing it. How many copies do you need is not the question. The question is, what are you going to do with them? And then once you have a plan for what you're going to do with all those advanced copies, then you know exactly how many you need. I then usually tack about a 30% cushion. Let's say I decide I need 100 books. I would then order 130. I like to put a cushion. If I know that I've got a use for 100 books, if I can say, okay, these 100 books are allocated, they're spoken for, order another 30% on top because stuff's going to happen. Books are going to get lost in the mail. You're going to need to replace them. One or two are going to come in with bent corners. People are going to, that you've never even heard of, are going to want a copy of your book, and you're going to want to sell them out of your trunk of your car. So I hope that answers your question. I'm going to get to Annette's question in a second, but let me go back to the ones that are here. Danielle is asking if libraries are open to buying a series of books rather than one at a time. Yes, libraries love to see a series. They will most likely buy a series if it is priced right and if they can see that there's a lot of good reviews. Librarians love reviews. So if you're going to ask them to spend $6 on a book, they'll take a chance. But if you're going to ask them to spend $60 on a series, you're going to ask them to spend that kind of money, you better have some strong reviews to show them, to prove to them that your book has demand and appeal and that it's well written and that people really like it. So yes, they're open to it, but the hurdle's a little higher, the threshold, you need to step a little higher. Danielle's also asking if libraries accept color printed books. She's asking because during one of my previous Free Advice Fridays, I mentioned that Ingram Spark only prints black and white. If I said that, guys, I am so sorry. Ingram Spark does not only print black and white. You are perfectly capable of getting color. You need to go through a different system with them, but Ingram Sparks, you can, I'm so sorry if I told you that because that is not true. So if you want a color copy of your book, Ingram Spark does have options. You should absolutely ask them. And I apologize if that I gave that weird information because that's not true at all. I mean, it used to be a long time ago. But. All right. Annette is saying that her book is available through Overdrive. Her ebook is available to Overdrive. You guys may be aware, if you've ever heard me speak, I'm a huge Overdrive fan. Overdrive is an ebook wholesaler and distributor, but they're an ebook wholesaler that sell books into the library market. And her book is available on Overdrive, so she wants to know how to help boost interest from the libraries. The easiest way to boost interest from the libraries is reviews and getting people to request your book. If you have 40 friends around the country, I would strongly recommend that you give them the ISBN of your ebook, the name of your ebook, you know, they know your name. Maybe even write an email for them, write a letter for them, and have them go to their local library and request your book as an ebook. There is on websites of most public libraries, there is a place for patrons, it's what they call their customers, for patrons who make suggestions of books that they're looking for. Get your friends across the country to request your book. That's one of the easiest ways. Get reviews. And then other than that, you have to pitch the libraries directly. But the easiest and fastest way is to create a street team of people who across the country will go out and request your book from a library. And once the library gets the book in, make sure they check it out, for heaven's sakes. All right. Oh, a lot of happy birthdays. That's lovely. Let me just arrow past those. Katrina is saying she has approached several book clubs who have told her that they only choose books available in the public library. Absolutely also my experience. So what you do is you partner with a local book club and you tell them that your book will be available at their local library if they agree to stock your book, and then you run to the library and you offer to sell that library 15 copies of your book at a deep discount. Give the library a 50% discount and sell them directly if you can. Some libraries, not all, some libraries are not allowed to buy from anyone except for pre-approved wholesalers. So that won't work for every library, but it has worked for some. Molly had 2,000 copies of her book printed in China. The middleman put an ISBN number in it that was connected to his company. Oh my God, that is not good. Then she asked him to change it, but where can she go to find out? When she approached the local bookstores to take the book on Ingram Spark, she had a hard time because of this issue. Molly, this is a fantastic problem, but one I think you and I should work out offline. I've seen versions of this, but it's I would love it if you would email me the 2 different ISBN numbers, amy@newshelves.com, and then why don't you and I talk on, we can talk on the phone Monday or Tuesday. I will look them up and I'll be able, because I own an online bookstore and I have access to databases you don't. I would be very happy to look up both ISBNs and find out what's going on. It's a bit of a kerfuffle for you, but it's one that I'd be happy to help you figure out. If you'd be willing to just email me at amy@newshelves. Let me type that in again. I would be very happy to help, but it's nothing I can really do anything about here on Free Advice Friday. I'm sorry. Jean, no, you're not going to use consulting time for this. I'm offering this to you. And yes, we really need to get you going on that, but the AMS thing is my pleasure. All right, we got a couple more here, and we've got 10 minutes. 10 minutes of birthday fun with Amy. All right. Let's see. Here are my old lady glasses. Caitlin is saying, what is the right time to approach wholesalers if you've not yet published your book? Caitlin, if your book is print on demand through either Ingram Spark or CreateSpace, the time to approach the wholesaler is after the pub date. You can print copies of your book all you want, but if you're print on demand, the wholesalers are going to want to see that your book's available. They're going to, unless if you've got a PO from Barnes & Noble for 500 copies, or if you've got a letter of intent from a big company, then I changed my mind. But for the most part, if you're print on demand, you want to approach the wholesaler after the book has come out. If you've printed your book offset and the books are coming in from China, or as this poor woman who got her books printed, and if that's your case, approach the wholesalers the minute you have physical copies in your hand. Take the book, put it in an envelope with the folder and your marketing plan and a cover letter and a press release and a sales sheet. Go to the wholesaler's website. They'll tell you what it is they require if you are going to book a zine or wherever you're going. And as soon as your book is done, you may not have any luck if you send them an advanced reader's copy. You need an actual finished copy of the book. If you're a micro publisher, a small press, independently published, however you want to phrase it, we don't have the same, they don't have the same trust in us that they do in HarperCollins and St. Martin's. So they want to see a finished copy of the book. But as soon as you get a finished copy, that minute. All right, Caitlin is asking if I have a detailed book marketing strategy program. Yes, several. She found a 1-hour webinar I gave for Author Learning Center. By the way, ALC has some terrific webinars that other people do, but once a month I do these classes for Author Learning Center. She was watching them. And she remembers me saying in a Facebook group that I should be launching a 6-month pre-publication strategy. Yes. Before any book comes out, you guys, and truthfully, 24/7, you guys should be building your readership. Even if you're just writing your book right now, your readership should constantly be on your mind, and building your reader list, getting them to sign up and give them your email, or give you their email. Now, asking what that entails, I mean, that's a 3-day question. That's like asking me, how do I build a steam engine? There's a lot to it, but the short answer is just what you saw in the webinar. You need to get involved in social media. You need to be running contests. And in social media, I'm not talking about advertising your book. I mean, be charming online. Get to know people. You need to know who all the other authors are and books are in your genre, and you need to be finding where those readers are hanging out. Are they on Goodreads? Are they hanging out in libraries? If you've written a cozy mystery, you probably have a huge list of cozy mystery authors that you can look to. What are they doing to promote their book? Emulate them. There are millions of ways to grow your platform. I'm actually working on a book right now with Daniel Hall, Real Fast Platform Building, that we're going to be coming out with soon, which I'll be happy to send you a copy of. It's not done yet. But how to build a platform should be on your mind wherever you are in the process. If your book is 1.5 years old, you should still be trying to build your platform. You should still be asking bloggers every day to interview you or to review your book. You should be going after librarians every day and asking if they would write a review of your book online, either on Library Thing or WorldCat or one of their sites. You should be asking somebody for something every day, and at the same time, you should be giving the publishing community 2 things every day. For every 1 thing you ask for, you should be giving 2. Why do I give hours and hours and hours of free consulting time every week to people? Because of karma. Because 3 times a month, I ask you guys to buy something. So 20 times a month, I'm going to give you guys something for free. That's how the world works. If I walked into a cocktail party and immediately did nothing but ask you guys for favors, nobody would talk to me after 5 minutes. Building your platform is a whole program, and I'd be happy to get you more materials about it, but that's my short answer. I hope that answers your question. All right. Reese is asking if I will address the emailed questions too, please. I am. Reese, I'm going through them all, but I don't see an email from you. Reese, I'm terribly sorry. If you emailed in the last hour or 2, I'm afraid I didn't see them. But I have every email that I have received in the last 2 weeks is hitting here. So I'm going through as fast as I can. I only have a few more left, I promise. Joan is asking how to contact me. I believe I've given you all my emails. There you go. Let's get back to the email questions, and then I'll ask you on this one. People are asking if NetGalley is worth it. Yes, depending on your goals. NetGalley is the granddaddy of ebook and review copy hosting. They're wonderful. They've got promotions that will send out information about your book that you just won't have access to from anywhere else. But it costs, like $100 a month. It's a lot of money. Even if you can get a discount. You can go to BookFunnel or Book Connect, either one, BookFunnel or BookConnect.com, and get a hosting service just like NetGalley for $20 a year, or for $40 a year, depending on how many books you have. And I love Book Connect and I love BookFunnel. But what they don't have that NetGalley has is the name recognition. But if all you're looking for is a site where you can send a link to a page that is created for you that has your ebook copies and your PDF and allows reviewers to safely download a book and not be able to share it out among the world, Book Connect or BookFunnel. If you want NetGalley's marketing services, many of which cost extra on top of the $100 a month, nobody does it better than NetGalley. So that is my answer to whether or not it's worth it. But if you're just looking just to host the book, BookFunnel, Book Connect. There you go. Rebecca's asking about pre-orders. Guys, pre-orders in this day and age aren't what they used to be. Go for 30 to 45 days. Do not make your book available longer than that because it loses momentum. You want to start pushing for pre-orders 30 days before the release date of your book, because otherwise you will fatigue your list like crazy. And truthfully, pre-orders don't matter as much as they used to. Bestseller lists and the like, Amazon significantly, they hamstring, cobble, discount, any way you want. They completely disregard a lot of the pre-order sales when it comes to the bestseller list. BookScan disregards them. What you want is steady sales over 30 to 60 days. The money's great, don't get me wrong, but don't worry so much about pre-orders. But if you're going to do a pre-order campaign, 30 days. You don't want to fatigue your list. All right. Paul Hemphill was saying that he spoke to a rep in New Jersey at Barnes & Noble who told him that B&N would accept less than 40%. They'd even take 10%. Paul, that's great. I have no idea who that was, but you should call them back. I've never been able to get Barnes & Noble to take me in for less than 40, but I would say run with it. Elle's asking if you should put the subtitle on the spine too. No, I mean, it depends on the book. If you've got a book where the spine is 1.5 inches thick, sure, you know, put the Gettysburg Address on it. But Elle, for your book, just the title and your last name. Carol is asking how to get in touch with Overdrive. Carol, if you have one book, Overdrive will not accept you. They only take bigger houses at this point. But you can go to Draft to Digital. I'll put their name in right now, the chat box, drafttodigital.com. I'll also put this link in the Free Advice Friday page. And for free, you can sign up for Draft to Digital for free. They take 10%, which is pretty minuscule. They take 10% of the net of anything they sell, and they can get you into Overdrive within 48 hours. You could literally be in Overdrive by Monday if you go to Fast to Draft to Digital. All right, let's see. Well, guys, it's the top of the hour, but we have a couple questions left. So this is what I'm going to suggest. I'm going to answer them. For those of you who don't want to stick around past the hour, I totally get it. A little Amy goes a long way. But I'm going to answer these questions anyway. So if you don't want to stick around, later this afternoon, okay, again, it's my birthday, so give me a couple hours. I may go get a pedicure. But later this afternoon, I will put a transcript of all of these answers up on the website, and you will see this video. And so you can watch the last few minutes at your leisure. Let's see. Okay, those aren't actually questions. So let's see if we've got any other questions here online. Reese is asking how to get reviews. Reese, I'm sorry. I appreciate that you sent that email last night. I didn't see it. How do you get reviews? Again, big question. If you're talking about how to get Amazon reviews, and here's the 30,000-foot view. I actually teach a class on this, but to get Amazon reviews, you start with a list of a dozen or so authors whose readers you share. If they read your book, they're also reading Seth MacFarlane, who's not actually an author, so that was really stupid. Seth Godin. If they read your book, then they're also reading David Sedaris. If they read your book, then they're reading Anne Lamott. So you put a list together of authors that you share readers with, and you go to their books, their recent books, anything 2-3 years old or less, and you take a look at who wrote reviews of their books and who were big fans. Click on their name on Amazon, see if they give a website, see if they're bloggers, see if they're professional book reviewers. A lot of them are. Click on their website, cut and paste, go look at their blog, get in touch with them, ask them to review your book. You can also use, there's a lot of programs out there right now that will go get Amazon reviews for you. I sell one. I know that Debbie Drum has a program that that was going through some hard times for a while, but seems to have perked up and seems to be doing well right now. Jay Boyer at Author Apex has an Amazon review program. Take a look at any of them. If you're talking about how to get professional reviews, that's a much bigger question. But the answer is you go to their website, and all of them list their criteria. I have a list of the URLs of all the top review sites in the United States, or in the US, the top review sites that for pre-publication and post-publication. It's 20 or so of the biggies. Publishers Weekly, Library Journal, Kirkus. Why don't I grab that URL list and post it on the Free Advice Friday page? So let me write that down so I don't forget. Reviewer list on Free Advice Friday page. Now, guys, there's a lot I've agreed to put on this page. I ask you that you give me till tomorrow morning. This is a lot for me to pull together, but I will pull together the blogs about Create Space versus Ingram Spark. I'll pull together the wholesaler list for you, the list of potential reviewers, and I'll post them all on the page by tomorrow, as well as a transcript of today's questions and answers and a copy of this video. All right. Yes, Rich, I will answer your emails. Again, guys, I don't mean to sound whiny, but I get over 400 emails a day. I answer them as fast as I can. I know that's why I do Free Advice Friday, because I'm trying to bunch things together. All right, guys, so that is, it looks like all of the questions in the Q&A. It looks like I've gotten through all of these, and I really appreciate everyone's patience. It is 1:03. Darn. Oh, someone has asked a question in the chat box. If your book's available on Kobo, you can automatically be on Overdrive. Yes, you can, if your book's on Kobo. And that, thank you so much for mentioning that. I'd completely forgotten. About 4 or 5 months ago, Kobo opened up Overdrive for access. But what they don't do, unfortunately, is they don't allow for licensing. It's a slightly different, but it's a light version, LITE. But absolutely, Kobo.com. I love Kobo. And Annette, you're right. I forgot. Kobo is another way to get into Overdrive. And thank you so much for reminding me. And I am going to make sure that I check that out and change the information on my blog about that. All right. So if I missed any questions, if I didn't see something, please, guys, check back again next week or drop me an email, Amy@NewShelves. I'm going to go finish my Diet Coke here and get this transcript done and get it all up. And I will see you guys next week at Free Advice Friday. Thanks so much, everyone. Bye-bye.